online. When I go and get shoes updated or fixed, they send me a $50 gift card for my next purchase. So their stream of communications always seems to be right on. I feel like I'm having a progressive dialogue with them, and it doesn't hurt that I love their product and their brand. So I think for all of us, we got to think back to the product side sometimes too, not just to the relevancy of the communication. Now, some of us can't fix the product if we work for a certain company. The product is the product. But to me, that's a lot what drives it. Tapping into what you love about that product and have a progressive conversation. That's what's been important.
Yeah, you hit on an important point. I made at one point it kind of occurred to me that sometimes we throw more money after bad products, right? I think of the ShamWow example, right? And I don't know if anybody saw the ShamWow Sucks video that went viral on YouTube, but you start throwing more money behind a bad product, and basically what you're doing is you're exposing the fact that you have a really crappy product to larger and larger audiences, right, and diminishing your brand. And so the question is, why didn't at some point a CMO say, you know what, I don't want any more money, take it, fix the product, and then let's come back and talk. But this is just a little bit of a teaser. We want to get into, we have a couple of topics here, and the next one is privacy. And just to set the stage here a little bit, I wanted to talk about the FTC privacy report that came out just a couple days ago. And one of the things, if you look here towards the second half of this clip, is as they're discussing privacy on these roundtables, what they're saying is, hey, we know that consumers are concerned about privacy. However, and this is, I'll just read this second part. Surveys have provided little or no information about the degree of such discomfort or the proportion of consumers who would be willing to forego the benefits of targeted advertising to avoid being tracked. And so part of what's a little bit concerning here is that we have discussions going on in Washington where we've got a lot of people who are nervous and scared about privacy, but it seems like there's a lack of understanding around, hey, what are the benefits of giving us all of this information as email marketers? And then we wanted to go out and actually hear from consumers some of their takes on privacy and that sort of thing. So
I just wanted, before you jump in.
Don't text me. Don't Facebook me.
It's fine. Sorry. No, before we jump into it, I was just wondering maybe if we could just see a show of hands. This report just came out. I don't know if anybody's actually read the whole 124 pages that it is, but show of hands of everybody who's familiar with this report and the overlying. Okay?
Okay. Great.
It's nice.
Don't text me. Don't Facebook me. I will contact you. There's a barrage of advertising messages out there. It's too much. And just on principle, I never communicate back with people that communicate toward me. This is where I do turn the corner on this, because I do a lot of purchases through Amazon. They know my tastes, and a lot of times their choices for me are pretty interesting. It's the one effective website where I found that sort of suggestive sell works.
And you already have a relationship with them because you've already purchased something. You've given that, you've volunteered that information.
Correct. I buy from Amazon once or twice a week.
So if they were to send you like coupons and emails, would you then redeem those coupons?
I would go batshit crazy and make
Do you follow them on Facebook?
No, I do not.
Why not?
Because I think it's important that we have a division between sort of corporate and public life.
Sure.
And if I want to have Apple, then I'll go into the store.
Your abandoned cart that you had on your website, and and they turn around and send you an email for a coupon or a promotion. Would that creep you out, or would that be helpful for you guys?
If they sent me a really good coupon, I'd like it.
Okay. And you might go ahead and use it?
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, I think a coupon would be a motivator for me. If I left an empty cart, it would make me think twice about it.
Okay, so it doesn't bother you at all?
Yeah, I probably would find it a little creepy. Yeah, stalking-ish type of...
But would you consider going ahead and using that coupon, potentially? Tweet at all?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And why don't you tweet?
Because it's the dumbest thing ever. Because you do not need to know what I'm doing right this second.
Okay.
It's like the Patriot Act times 900.
It's like the Patriot Act times 900. For all you Canadians in the room, we know where to host the data. So,
So one thing, in fact, I asked Dennis if he wouldn't mind being a little prepared on this, and I wanted to throw in one bone. There is this debate about what they're, in the FTC report, about first-party marketing and what's allowed on site and how that can be different than maybe cookies and behavioral tracking across networks and that sort of thing. But if we could, I'd love to get your take here, Mr. Damon, on kind of where things stand and how the email marketing community is involved.
Yeah, this was coming a long time ago, actually. I'm sorry. I'm Dennis Damon. I'm the Chief Privacy Officer for Eloqua. I know a lot of you guys already from the other conferences. This stuff's been coming for quite some time, actually, just in general. I mean, in the European Union and Canada, as most of you already should know, there's a lot of privacy legislation there where you have to do opt-in, you have to do consent, you have to have basically a lot of control. And really, when you look at the EU and Canada, it's a fundamental human right to privacy there, where here in the U.S. it never has been, because we're likely to give away any piece of information just to get anything that's one to a customer, right? And as our companies are growing and as we're getting more and more into these new technologies like Twitter and Facebook and stuff, we're going to continue to ask customers for more information. The biggest problem that we've had actually recently, and you've probably read a lot about this as well, is there's been a ton of security breaches, and they're actually increasing over and over and over and over. I know the head of the Lord and I deal with this a lot with some of the conferences. And so these breaches are getting more and more public, and the data that's being lost it's getting larger and larger, right? These hackers and these are what we call spackers, hacker and spammer. They're basically able to get all this good information for low risk and high reward, basically. And so now everybody's really, really concerned about this here in the U.S., going, oh my God, we don't really have any privacy legislation, we don't really have any security legislation here. What are we going to do about it? So now what we're seeing is part of this is the FTC privacy report that's now popping up this past week. At the same time, earlier this year, it was Representative Boucher that was also trying to push an idea of doing federal privacy legislation here in the U.S. as well. What's interesting to me, though, a lot of people are scared about this, and so am I. I mean, there's some things in this report that I don't quite agree with yet, or that I know needs to be worked on. But a lot of this stuff, I think, is obtainable by most of us here today, as long as we can get, again, some more details into this report, right? We all kind of screamed at canned spam when it first came out in 2003. I think we did pretty well with that, at least in my opinion, right? We all met the standards. It actually helped our programs, I think, right? So one of the things that I do implore you guys, if you haven't read the report, you don't need to go read the whole thing, but there are some questions in the bottom of this report that the FTC is literally asking you guys to come in and comment on. And I implore you guys to do a couple different things. Either go into your companies and talk to your legislative folks or your attorneys, or if you're part of the ESPC or MOG or the DMA, a lot of these organizations are going to be filing comments over the next couple of weeks on this. I know that Eloqua is going to be doing this. We're actually talking, who was it earlier? It was, Lauren McDonald and I were talking about, maybe bringing our companies together and actually filing comments to this, right? Because there are some things in here that I do know that need to be educated on, that these legislators don't understand. I love David Vladeck. He's a great guy. He's the Director of Consumer Protection for the FTC, but they don't understand how these technologies work, right? So you guys need to be a part of this, and you guys need to get very vocal about it and say, you know what, some of this stuff may not work. We love privacy and we love security. We're more than happy to do this, but at the same time, it needs to be done the right way, and here's how technology actually works today.
But I guess the question is for the brand marketers in the room too, right? It's one thing for a bunch of email service providers to band together and say, you should allow us to do this stuff. It's a different thing, I think, from the brand marketers to come together and say, here's what we won't be able to do. So I don't know, is anybody on a brand marketing side kind of passionate and involved in this thing?
I'm Andy Nelson. I'm from Target, and I read the 122-page report on my flight in here yesterday. So, yeah, it was a good report. It's pretty repetitive, but to me, there's definitely there's the protection of privacy. I think everybody here can agree that protecting consumer data is an important aspect that every company should take seriously. But when it comes to privacy itself, in terms of the information, I felt like the FTC was really saying they're okay with people collecting information, obviously, but they want it to be transparent. And so, with that said, is the preference center of some type of holistic preference center, not just an email or an SMS, but something that allows you to say, as a company, we've tracked this about you. As long as it's transparent and they can change that or opt out of it, or any kind of modification of it. Is that what the FTC's ultimate goal is? That's why I couldn't tell. I didn't really know.
Well, yeah. Jeff, I don't know if you had any last thoughts on this. We want to go to the next topic.
I want to go on to the next one because I think we're going to run short on time, but we'll touch on that at the end.
Okay. So next is just to hear what some people had to say about social media. I want to do a little bit of an intro clip here. One of many social media. So we know social media is a big deal, and we see kind of the promotional videos that are going around and being very popular. And so we wanted to hear, just kind of when asked about social media, what the consumers had to say.
What kinds of social networks do you use?
Like online? Facebook.
Just Facebook?
Facebook.
And why Facebook over everything else?
MySpace has a lot of creepers. Facebook, when it originally started, was actually who you are, like your name and your picture. In college students, now it's obviously, like our parents and employers and all that stuff trying to get after us. But
Facebook, just because so many people are on it, but now it's starting to get... To make fun of your friends. Yeah, to make fun of my friends. Now it's just getting to be really a lot of spam like MySpace used to be.
So you see a lot of the advertisements on Facebook?
Yeah.
How do you feel about using marketers using Facebook sites to advertise?
It's kind of... I mean, it's, you can't really blame them just because there's such a big market out there, but it just kind of sucks when you just want to, when...
What about Facebook and Twitter? You follow these brands online?
I had a Facebook account when it first became popular, and within about 3 months I became somewhat bored of it, and I found it a little bit too intrusive for my tastes.
What about Facebook? You hang out there at all?
Most of the time. It's getting boring though.
Is it?
Yeah.
What do you think Facebook could do to make it better?
Nothing. Facebook is just Facebook. It can't really do anything, yeah.
Right. Do you ever interact with companies or brands on Facebook?
No, mostly just friends.
Mostly friends, but it's getting boring, eh?
Yeah.
Are they real friends or fake friends?
They're all my friends.
They're all real friends from real life. And you don't follow any brands on Facebook, eh?
When you're on a social networking site like Facebook, do you see any advertisements or ads?
Yes.
Do you ever, how do you respond to those? What do you think about advertising on a social network?
It's a good thing. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because it's a personal touch, and if it promotes, if it is targeted for that user, and then, for example, that user says, hey, you know what, I like, Starbucks, or I like, Dunkin' Donuts, and then Dunkin' Donuts is running an advertisement on specials and whatnot, then why not? That maybe that person's going to say,
MySpace, it's just a little bit more free, and Twitter. It's, again, same thing.
Okay. Is it appropriate, do you think, for companies to market to or to communicate with you on those social networks?
I see it more appropriate via Twitter.
What other social networks like Facebook or LinkedIn or Foursquare, do you use any of those?
I use Facebook and LinkedIn, yeah.
Yeah? And what do you like about those networks?
Facebook is just mostly for friends, if I want to share any information like personal life and all that, but LinkedIn is just purely work.
What about social networks? You hang out on any, like Facebook or...
I'm an avid Facebook user.
Are you?
I am.
And what do you love about it?
I love that people can follow what I'm doing without having, I have sort of a busy life, and so people can be updated on what's going on with me. It's sort of like a one-stop check-in in my universe, and it actually takes a bit of pressure off of me, instead of having to call people and say, oh yeah, sorry, I was out of town, or I was working, or whatever.
What do you hate about it?
What do I hate about Facebook? Actually, nothing. I think that Facebook is fine. I think that the idea that whatever you upload to Facebook becomes the property of Facebook, I think is unfortunate, but once you admit that, then you can make choices about what you want to share.
So, thoughts? I mean, it's quite a wide range of responses there, but I'd just love to hear initial thoughts from you guys.
Well, we'll put it back to you in a question. So when you look at Facebook and Foursquare and I don't want to look at MySpace. So Facebook and Foursquare and all these social networks that are taking place, how as marketers do we even keep up with them? So there's a new one each and every week. How do we plan this year? How do we plan next year? How do we stay on top of it? How do we try these new platforms out without biting off more than we can chew? How do we get involved without, over-promising and under-delivering?
Well, one way my company approached it was it's part of what we call our big get. We have a big series of items that our new platform has to meet, and being able to inject and get things out of the social stream is one of them. So we have a social manager, just like we have a permission marketing manager, which I am from Cox Media Group Digital. And then we have what's called the Lab. It's a group of our tech people who devote, kind of use their 20% time to do lab projects. And we all kind of float up lab projects, ideas coming from everywhere. And then, we did one with Foursquare and Gowalla, looking to see if we could do a recommendation engine based on what people have checked into, and tying that into calendars and stuff on our websites. So we've done lots of little projects in our labs with our developers using their 20% time. The ones that we see traction with or we see value in or revenue potential we'll use. The ones we don't, it wasn't a waste of anybody's time, wasn't a lot of resources. The time was there anyway, so that's how we kind of approach it.
One of the things that struck me in terms of watching those videos is it seems like consumers have such a dichotomy, right? Some of them are really into Facebook and they love it. But it was the first time I'd heard people starting to go, you know what, Facebook's starting to get really boring, which leads you to go, okay, so what's the next thing, right? And it leads me to question when I hear about CEOs of major companies, awarding trips to Hawaii for whoever can build the largest Facebook fan base. It leads to huge questions about, are we marrying ourselves to platforms in an area where things are moving so fast, you can't really commit to one place or another. So I just, that's what struck me, is it seems like we latch onto tools instead of trying to figure out how and where, what tools consumers are using, and recognizing that we could be pouring a lot of money into kind of fleeting audiences, right, who frankly are running from us, because there was one guy who said, it's just too bad that it's getting to be so spammy like MySpace used to be, and the programs that are being rolled out on Facebook seem to encourage that marketing behavior, which seems at direct odds with their user base. So I don't know if anybody else is struggling with that, but it's something that continues to come up in my mind as a challenge.
So I have a question. Is anybody using Facebook deals? Is anyone using Facebook check-in and looking for local deals when you're out and about on your mobile device? As consumers, Lauren. I was going to say, you do everything that's cool, so it's got to be. Yes, absolutely. So, is anybody... It's really cool. You can talk about how this stuff really applies, right? So if you go to Facebook on your iPhone and you click on Places, and then you click the check-in button, you can go through all the places that are around you, and you'll find this little, it looks like a piece of paper. It's obviously Gen 1, right? But it's a little icon. And if you click on the icon, it'll notify you of a deal in the area. So, for example, I was by a Chipotle by my house, and I got buy one, get one free, right? So I think that it's amazing, though. I've only seen one deal in the 3 weeks that it's supposedly launched and been out there. But I do think that's the way that social media will relate to our brands and our businesses will be very different than the way folks traditionally interact with subscription products and email and other things. And I think brands need to do a really good job of letting the customers know where the value is.
Right.
Because the consumers, sorry, I say consumers. Where is he? Yeah, my bad. The consumers just don't know where to find the cool new stuff.
Right.
Too much.
Right.
Take that a step further. How many people in this room have used one of those Facebook deals or like a Foursquare Mayor deal that pops up on there? Has anybody in here used one ever? Okay, good view.
The problem is, look, we are in the know.
But that's the thing, right? I mean, so the first video, look, full transparency, I cut out the video at the part that I thought was really important, right? Because it was a 4-minute video and we don't have time. But it is, we are the heaviest users of social media, right? And we have to be careful that we're not, kind of buying into our own stuff, to say it nicely, about, hey, I think it's really important, and I'm generating work this way, and I'm building my business this way, so therefore this is how kind of the general consumers are out there doing stuff. It's not to say that it's not working, because there are hugely successful case studies, but in terms of marrying to a platform and all that, I just thought that was a little bit eye-opening. I also thought it was really eye-opening that somebody actually still uses MySpace, because if you look at the popular media, you'd say it's all but dead. There were some teenagers that that didn't make it into the final cut, who were from kind of out in the country, right? And they said, well, yeah, so for high school, it's all MySpace. For our college friends, when we go to college, then we go to Facebook, because it's regional. Yeah?
I'd add, in our agency, our designers use MySpace constantly for new music discovery.
Yeah.
And that's really the go-to place they use to discover bands and connect with fans. Hold on.
Have you noticed my timing today, actually?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at timing. So let's move on to the next one. And this one's a little bit shorter, but I think it's just interesting in terms of kind of seeing how things have evolved and kind of where we may be. So we look at texting. And a couple years ago, you saw all these reports about how texting was basically overtaking the world. Teens don't even talk to each other anymore. All they do is text, and they sit across the table from each other. And so therefore you started to see a rash of white papers come out. And this happens to be my personal favorite. I don't want to say anything,
I like that company.
Storm for going out there, right? But what's that?
I like that company.
There you go. But you kind of had the death march, like, oh my gosh, it's SMS or die. And now all of a sudden, as you'll hear from consumers, they've got a little different take. But you're also starting to see the media, or kind of marketers back off that and say, gosh, where does SMS fall in? Because it's such a tenuous stomping ground right now. So as for the consumers themselves,
how do you primarily talk to your friends and your family? Phone call, email, SMS?
It's definitely changed for me. I used to be at my dinner table all the time, tell them what I'm doing, but now since both my parents have phones and I have a BlackBerry, it's so much easier, so I tell them where I'm going. Or
I just text or talk to my sister on Facebook. She goes to university, so I Skype her or Facebook or text her. I don't call
Skype.
anyone really.
How do you normally communicate with your friends? Through SMS, through phone, through email?
It's all SMS now.
All SMS?
Yeah.
So everything you do is SMS?
Yeah, unless they want to talk on the phone, then I'll go to the phone.
And what about your family?
Phone.
Phone?
Yeah.
So you call your family, you SMS your friends?
Yeah.
What about your boss?
I call my boss.
You call your boss?
Yeah.
Would you send a text message to your boss?
No.
Okay. What about email? Do you use email at all?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But you'll send an SMS to your friends, but you don't really email your friends?
Unless it's something I can put everything in one text message, then I'll send an email out.
How do you typically communicate with your friends and your family? Phone call, text?
Email and text message.
Email and text. Does one outweigh the other?
Email probably more because more people can receive emails than text messages.
Right.
Members of my family still can't. Not all of them have cell phones.
Gotcha.
And with long distance, I have a lot of international people that I'm in contact with, and email is the cheapest and easiest way.
As a work tool or as a social tool?
Both.
With business clients, it's typically email. With friends, it's text. And every once in a while, I like to pick up the damn phone, whether be it a cell phone or a landline, just to actually make it a more human experience.
If they texted you about it.
I have that, and I have yet to stop it though. But that was my fault. So text is working for you. One time when I was at the restaurant, got $5 off. Okay.
Text messaging, do you use that a lot?
I use text a lot.
And have you ever used a short code to text in for a coupon or a discount?
Yeah, I have.
Overall, though, do you think it works? Is it a good system for marketers to give you the information you need?
It works. It really does. It gets me to go shopping. So.
Texting is for my friends and family, not for you.
It's for my friends and family, not for you. So, the thing that I took away from this is texting is bigger than I ever thought it was. They said SMS was going to kill email, and that certainly didn't happen, and certainly email is not dead by any means. But I got to ask the room and say, how many people hear SMS on a regular basis? So everyone is sending SMS. How many people have BlackBerries and use BlackBerry Messenger and don't SMS? So SMS is... Okay, so we got everybody doing both. Okay, so here we go. How many people in this room actually would want to receive offers from vendors regarding, I don't know, any kind of discount, any kind of offer you guys can think of? Okay, so I'm opening it up to say, look, you guys are the marketers. You want to receive offers via SMS. What do you bring them back to your program tomorrow to actually execute against? Anyone? Is anyone doing an SMS program in here? Tell us about it.
We actually have a mobile couponing platform that instead of pushing, you poll the offers you want.
So basically, since again, locally here, if anybody here wanted ice cream in Park City, you could do 40123 Park City 84060, and you get an ice cream offer for Cold Stone down the street. But then whenever you're involved with that customer, you can now opt in to get their specific offers. So now those individual vendors can push messages or push to only the people that have requested, otherwise it's 100% polling. And the vendors pay for the right to interact with subscribers on almost a coupon search engine that's locally currently.
Well, so follow-up question for you. So once somebody kind of comes in and they actually request something, do you ever follow up, or they just, hey, thanks for pulling, or is there some mechanism that you do to be able to actually push out and do reminder kind of communications to you?
On that application, it's 100%. Once you're done with us, you're done with us, simply because of the 100% opt-in ratio. So we're encouraging vendors because to put it in perspective, it's not my company that's specifically sending out the offers. We are just the vendor for the local merchants.
Okay.
So if you go into local merchant, you might have text deals to 40123, and you automatically get opted in. So it's a little bit different approach since we're not generally the vendor sending out the deals. We're just the facilitator of it for as many companies locally.
Yeah, is there anybody else? It seems to me like it's one of those places, as Gene, right? Interesting. Love to hear how you kind of walk that line between SMS and email and social and all that, right? Because you have this problem with consumers going, hey, you know what? You can't talk to me that way, and you have other ones who are going, no, it works, right? So somehow you've got to figure out a way to navigate that. So I don't know if somebody has the mic. Where's my mic? Yeah. Okay.
We treat them all as separate subscriptions.
Yep.
And our customers can tell us how they want us to communicate with them.
Yep.
If they want to opt into all, we'll communicate with them all. But our text club is extremely new. It's something we're going to be growing a lot next year.
Yeah.
But we're in all those.
Deal. Well, here's the last one we're going to do, and then we're going to wrap up and move on to the
Look into the
next
camera and tell these guys something that they should know.
Okay, it's a lot of pressure. Hi guys, my name is Ryan and I'm a consumer. I think that what we need more than anything is we need competent people who are ready to listen to what we're actually looking for. I would say that we are either not heard or we are underestimated as a market. And the second you try to pull the wool over our eyes, we lose trust in you. So do your best to be clear and tell us exactly what it is that you're working on, and let us make our own decisions.
What do you think they could put in the newsletter to make you really want to read it more?
I think definitely sales. Like when they have sales, I open it right away. Like I don't really care. Yeah, I don't really care about like their new items or anything like that. I just care like something that's going to attract me, like sales. Like I'm definitely going to go if they tell me like 50% off or 70% or 10% off. So
We just like to save money.
No, I mean, I think that coupons, the thing is when when they come on the computer, I don't utilize them as much. But like Best Buy, Bed Bath & Beyond, all these places, they send them via mail. So I actually have a tangible coupon that's sitting there on my desk. It's hard to forget about it when it's in your email. It's something easy that's to look over. So when I actually have a tangible coupon in my hand, that's probably the more likely I am to utilize it. And I think, Bed Bath & Beyond always does it. So that's always good. And Best Buy does a great job with it too.
I'll give you an opportunity to say whatever you want to some of the world's leading brand marketers. You can tell them whatever you want, give them some ideas, give them some insight, but maybe you can just look at the camera and just give them 2 cents worth.
From experience, what I find works well in terms of feedback is people love FREE always works. People like free stuff. Discounts, so I mean, which is nothing new.
Is there anything else you want to share with our community?
no, tell me what I'm going to benefit from it and tell me right to the point. Really, that's all I think.
And is there anything you want to say to the marketing community out there?
Just keep doing what you're doing.
So, with that, we're gonna need to wrap it up. But Jeff, closing final thought?
Yeah, my big takeaways on that were transparency. Everybody wants that. It's really key. Tell us what you're doing. Coupons, sales. There's just so many things that people want. They will tell you. But most of all, unless you ask them, you'll never really know. And I think that we should not drive this cart from this seat. We should actually get out there with the consumer face to face and really understand what they're thinking, what they like, and they're more than happy to share it with you.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you, Jeff, and thank you for jumping out there and getting into it with people on the street. That was
pleasure,
cool. So we need to move on quickly. Just a quick announcement. So a quick announcement.